I'm Emily Rooney. Welcome to our Beat the Press Year in Review. A lot went well for the media this year, but a lot went wrong too. We'll look at some dramatic changes in newspaper ownership, how leakers stole the thunder of the traditional media, and whether the mistakes committed by some journalists deserve the punishment. Joining me are Dan Kennedy of Northeastern University, WGBH's Callie Crossley, Joshua Benton of the Neiman Journalism Lab, and John Keller of WBZ. First, print is doomed. That's been the long-held assumption ever since the internet rendered obsolete the business model for newspapers and magazines. But a funny thing happened in 2013. A bevy of new publishers disregarded that conventional wisdom.
The Red Sox are world champions.
Apparently, building a baseball dynasty isn't enough for John Henry. This fall, the Red Sox owner bought the Boston Globe for $70 million, $1 billion less than the New York Times company paid for it in 1993. But if Henry got a bargain, his purchase also raised some questions.
It is a whole bowl of awkward. I mean, there's no question about it.
As the Globe's Dan Shaughnessy admits, it's a bit uncomfortable for Boston's baseball team and Boston's paper of record to share an owner. But Globe editor Brian McGrory insists it won't be an issue.
John Henry would be out of his mind nuts, and I don't think he is, if he tries to affect our sports coverage to benefit his baseball team.
Henry wasn't the only new owner who shook up the newspaper business in 2013. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post after getting the hard sell from Post chairman Donald Graham.
Somebody who had a lot of internet knowledge and technology knowledge could actually be very helpful.
And do you believe that?
To the Post. I eventually came to believe that.
In contrast, Orange County Register owner Aaron Kushner has a passion for traditional print, and he's launching a new daily paper in L.A.
We believe newspapers really matter.
But not all the print media news was good. Both the Worcester Telegram and Providence Journal are for sale. And after 40 years as a weekly, New York Magazine will now go to press every other week. And the alternative weekly Boston Phoenix stopped publishing altogether.
The problem is that since 9/11, our national advertising has never come back.
Now a new breed of newspaper owners will try to turn the tide. I've got to believe, having had a little time to reflect on this, that the Boston Globe staff must feel really good about this ownership by John Henry. All the awkwardness aside, as Dan Shaughnessy points out, of him owning both the Red Sox and the Boston Globe. My guess is he's going to do some really bold stuff there, that it's going to be multimedia. There's got to be more. It's got to be a more active TV component and that kind of stuff. But that would be my guess.
I think that John Henry is as committed to innovation as we might assume that Jeff Bezos will be at the Post. One of the more interesting things that happened at the Globe in the last couple of weeks in terms of the future, and this flew in totally under the radar, but they hired a young woman named Hillary Sargent who does this.
She used to work here.
Okay, she does this project called Chart Girl.
I know, we love that.
And it's data journalism, and she's going to be doing her thing for the free Boston.com site. And I look at that as he's going to throw 1,000 things against the wall to see what sticks. And I think that's exactly what you need to be doing in this current newspaper environment.
And the real benefit of having the two-site digital strategy of Boston.com, which is free, and BostonGlobe.com, which is not, is that it gives Boston.com the space to experiment, to try things, to start an online radio station as they did this year, to try, schemes that might seem a little bit out there sometimes, in case one of them is going to hit. I do think that the people I talk to at the Globe do feel optimistic, broadly speaking, about what's coming. When they were owned by the New York Times company, they also had a paternalistic owner that was protecting the Globe perhaps more than would have been the case if they had different kinds of owners, and they're hoping that Henry can continue to provide some stability on that front. But at the same time, they do face a lot of real challenges. The basic economics of the newspaper industry aren't changed by a new set of owners, and the problems around print advertising and things like that are really going to continue.
So, John, as we know, the Telegram is up for sale. I mean, they've got to actually probably be okay about that. They're probably a little bit disappointed that John Henry doesn't want them, but it gives them also an opportunity for local ownership.
Yeah, if local ownership steps forward. The alternative would be you get sort of picked off the bargain rack by some out-of-town corporation that doesn't get it and doesn't really care, and they strip it and sell the parts for scrap. So I think it's probably high wire time a little bit over there. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, but maybe Aaron Kushner, who's starting up the new Register in L.A., he also looked at the Boston Globe. I wonder if he would look at this.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a very good question. But I think Dan put his finger on it when he talked about the Hillary Sargent hire, which I think is a very smart move. John Henry, and this would go for for Kushner and these other owners, they're all smart men and women. But the question is, who will they bring in? John Henry was a success with the Red Sox because he had a brilliant architect, Janet Marie Smith, who redesigned the ballpark, a brilliant executive in Larry Lucchino, and some great luck with his general managers. Don't forget, there was the down year with the terrible signings when Henry, by all accounts, got a little too involved and overruled some of his people. So watch the hires. That'll tell you where the Globe and these others are headed.
Well, I want to just emphasize that with regard to Henry, at least he's local. So I take great comfort in that. This is a guy, he knows the product. I mean, he's respecting the product, and he, has making a business decision, of course, but there's a local aspect to it. I worry a little bit about the other people who are not local. I mean, they may appreciate the product, but they're not there and maybe as into it and feel the connection to community. So that's the first thing. The second thing that didn't get mentioned in your package that I think we need to say that's a hopeful sign, I think, is that Newsweek is coming back in a print form. Now, some people think that's crazy. They went out to go only digital, but they're coming back, so we'll see.
Well, they're owned by the Moonies now, so we'll see what form they come back in.
Okay, but they're coming back in print.
Coming back on a magic carpet or something.
And we start off saying print is dead, so obviously even the Moonies think something can be had with a print edition.
Newsweek, I mean, we were all making fun of Newsweek recently, and I was among them. But they've got a pretty good editor now. And there's still some money to be made in print. You can still get print advertising. As I understand it, it's going to be a small print edition. But we can all have fun with the Moonies. But the fact is, the Washington Times was quite a good paper for many years under the ownership of the Unification Church. So maybe Newsweek will prosper likewise.
Maybe. I'm not quite as optimistic as you might be about the print prospects. I think. What they're trying to really do is rebrand themselves as something closer to The Economist, as an elite, high-cost, high-value product. That was the same sort of talk that we heard during the last regime at Newsweek. They were trying to rebrand as someone that would be agenda setters, that would have a higher gloss and a higher class mentality, I suppose. I'm pessimistic about the possibilities of them really pulling that off.
And I think it remains an open question whether general interest publications like a big daily like the Globe or the Orange County paper can survive in a market that's increasingly divided into niches and silos.
Dan, we've got to give a nod here to the Boston Phoenix, too, because I know you worked there for a very long time. I mean, how do you feel about it now, reflecting what it's been 6 or 7 months?
Even though I had been gone from the Phoenix for a long time, and so I am not going to be able to claim the kind of emotional devastation that the people who lost their jobs did. Nevertheless, I think it created an enormous hole in the media landscape around here. Peter Katz, who was in the piece, one of the things I loved that he said was, as you try to figure out what an alternative newspaper is in this current environment, he says smart is the new alternative. And I thought the Phoenix just epitomized smart as the new alternative. And unfortunately, they just ran out of time. I think it's really a shame.
Me too. I miss them.
We do.